Hello and welcome. The future of Indian engineering services is bright, and so specifically is aerospace engineering services. It's already a $800 million business. It could go up to $4 billion from India in just 5 years. How will that happen? Well, answering that question is Bejoy George, Executive Director and CEO of Axis Aerospace, who joins us now. Bejoy, thank you very much for speaking with us. Bejoy, I think two parts to it. One is that this is a industry which is less than $1 billion. It could become 4 times its size. I'm assuming in about a decade or so. The second
less than a decade.
Less than a decade. The second thing is that this is an industry which not too many people talk about, because most of the focus is really on the manufacturing side. Right?
Yes.
So, and you're putting together an initiative along with a bunch of others to see how aerospace design can be scaled up as an industry in India, not just for the industry itself, but also for the downstream opportunities it creates.
Yes.
Right. So tell us about it.
Nasscom has got the engineering council, which separates engineering, mechanical engineering, embedded systems from IT. So under the engineering forum, we have different special interest groups for different verticals. One of them is for aerospace and defense. So I'm part of the aerospace and defense special interest group, and there are a bunch of us from the industry who've gotten together as part of this SIG to figure out what are the things which need to be done to take this currently $800–900 million industry size to about $4 billion in the next 5 years. And I'm talking only design. I'm not talking manufactured items here.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, initially the work which used to come to India was essentially the customer would tell us, here's the specs, develop it. It was low-end engineering work. Initially it would have been drafting, detailing, etc. But as the market matures, as our capabilities go up, we go up the value chain. However, there are a lot of things which need to be done in order to help us achieve all the things which are possible in this business. So it starts with talent. We have a great set of people in India, but they're not enough. The domain knowledge is not enough. So we need very specific talent building. Then there is an ecosystem. Across the world, if you look at the Western world, it's small and medium enterprises, SMEs, who actually gave rise to the aerospace and defense industry, and they grew big. And so the structure there is they have an OEM, a Boeing or an Airbus, which are multi-billion dollars. Then they have a few large tier ones, which are a couple of billion dollar size. And then tier 2s, tier 3s. In India, we have one OEM, HAL. There's no tier 1, there's no tier 2, there's 6,000 tier 3s. But we need to help these 6,000 tier 3s grow up. So there's an ecosystem which is required.
But that itself is fascinating, that there are 6,000 medium and small enterprises which are focused or in some ways focused on the aerospace industry.
Usually these are all by technocrats, funded by technocrats who used to work in this DPSUs or DRDOs.
Right.
They have knowledge and capability of a particular technology, particular technology, but they don't have financial savviness. They may not understand best practices in management. They don't know how to go about getting the right kind of funding, etc. So the ecosystem we're talking about is trying to put all these missing pieces together.
Right.
Where do they go to for getting easy and inexpensive funding? What is the application process for that? Where do they go when they have to create a prototype or test what they have done, or even go for certification? So create a database of all the units or organizations where you can do your prototyping, testing,
so
certification.
You said talent and focusing on MSMEs are 2 things, and you've got 4 more.
There's a ecosystem for MSMEs, talent development, branding of this entire capability of India, DRDO and DPSUs, let's take them. They have been mandated to work with the Indian private sector industry, but currently the mode of working with only the L1 or the lowest one does not necessarily lead to a very happy experience for both parties. So we are trying to figure out, we're talking to DRDO to see whether it will help to create a framework, help them develop a framework which they can use to decide what to outsource, and once they decide what to outsource, whom to outsource it to, based on the technology, based on the criticality of the technology, based on the investment power required, based on the experience and past, the past work done, etc. So it has to be a flexible enough framework which can be fine-tuned, tweaked, different weightages to different parameters based on the work to be outsourced. That way, DRDO hopefully will be able to zero in on a much more accomplished and the right kind of partner to outsource to. That's one of the other initiatives. Then standards and certifications. We want to make sure that there is awareness of all the various aerospace standards to all the players in this field. So that's number 1. Certification. In the US or in Europe, in Canada, you have folks who are called DERs, designated engineering representatives, or authorized signatories who can sign off on a design. We don't have that concept here in India yet, but we need to have such people if we want to do work, higher end work, full system work for the global OEMs. So we need to talk to Semilac and DGCA to figure out how they can help us, or what do we need to do to ensure that they can qualify auditors and authorized signatories for certification.
Right. So let me take a step back, coming to DRDO again, and the way or the manner in which the Department of Defense works with the private ecosystem. What are the comparable examples internationally in, let's say, North America, Europe, and so on?
If you look at it, pretty much the only government body in U.S. defense is the U.S. Armed Forces.
Right.
Everything else is private sector.
Right.
Whereas in India, our DRDO, our DPSUs, they're all owned by the government.
Layer.
Yeah. So the missing tier 1s, tier 2s, which I mentioned, that you only have 6,000 tier 3s. The private sector is the 6,000 tier 3s in India. What is missing is the in-betweens. And if you want to call Bharat Electronics or a BEML as a tier 1, but they're government owned.
Right.
So there has to be much more private sector involvement. But this is not a business where a company can say, okay, I'm going to invest $100 million and I know that I'll get my returns the next 2-3 years. You need financial staying power. So you're talking about investing and staying in this business for 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years. So you have to do that. I mean, either you have very deep pockets and you are willing to take the risk, or there has to be government programs to help develop
right.
this.
So when you talk about a $4 billion opportunity, the hidden or not so hidden presumption seems to be that the market itself for aviation or defense aviation is growing, and that is going to come here.
Yeah, I would differentiate between aviation and aerospace.
Okay.
In my mind, aerospace is the business of designing and building aircraft.
As opposed to
aviation, which is the business of using these aircraft, flying them to provide transportation. So I'm not touching the aviation space at all. However, it's the aviation market which drives the demand for the aerospace industry. So yes, number one, there's a growing aviation market, which means there's a growing demand for planes. I just saw a figure today, Dr. Saraswat was saying, and I think it's quite right, that in the next 15 years, we need 4,000 aircraft in India, defense and civil. And that's a huge amount of aircraft. And even if you want to put the average price of the aircraft at $50-60 million, you can see the size. And so we have the offset policy in India. So defense offset means anywhere from 30 to 50% of the value of the order has to be done in India by Indian players. So there is a market. This is a theoretical market. But in order to tap this theoretical market, we need to have these capabilities, we need to have the people, we need to have the processes, we need to have the certification, etc. So that's what we in Nasscom ANDSIG are trying to do, to set up a platform so that we have the right ingredients, the right components for the companies to tap this market and achieve this revenue.
And aim for that 4 billion target. So tell us about one illustration, or give us one illustration of some an exciting project that could come our way, or that maybe some Indian company, maybe yours, is working on, at least descriptively. Okay.
So India, we don't have our own civilian aircraft. We have our light combat aircraft, which is, it's still not been not put into operational squadrons yet. We have our light helicopter, but they're all military at the moment. I believe there is an opportunity for a regional aircraft to be developed by India, which can be used, which can be sold not just to India, not just to the Indian government or the armed forces, but also to airlines to use as a regional transport aircraft, and also to our surrounding countries. And I'm sure we in India, we have the capability to come out with a regional aircraft, a 100-seater or 80 to 100-seater aircraft, which will compete against the best in the world. It probably.
So why could we do it better? Is it because it would be cheaper? Or
NAL is working on it already. But we could do it better because, number one, of course, we have an advantage in terms of the cost of labor here. I'm not for 1 minute saying that it's only going to be labor arbitrage which will get us there. But we have the advantage that we have a lower cost. So, and we have a large number of youngsters who are interested in engineering. So getting talent is not going to be a problem. We have NAL, we have HAL, we have the DRDO organizations. There's a whole lot of technology capability already existing in these places. There are some gaps which are there. For example, the engine, the turboprop. We can tie up with some of the guys, the OEMs abroad for the engine technologies. We'll need to have the latest avionics Sure, we can't do everything ourselves, but we have enough capability, and along with the right kind of collaborations, we can bring that in. We are talking about composite material. So that's one area where we are weak in, and materials is one area where we are weak in, composites rather. So if we can get together an ecosystem which can help develop these capabilities in materials, in avionics, system subsystems, etc., and in engines, then we like a consortium. Again, it's going to be difficult to put the consortium together, but theoretically we'll have the capability to design, develop and build our own regional aircraft, which can be world-beating aircraft. That's what I truly believe.
That's a very happy note to end on. Thank you very much, Bejoy, for speaking with us.
Thank you.